more back function.
At the Gurston Championship rounds, there are often invited classes for single marks. At this round in July, we've got the Ferrari Owners Club here, with a tremendous turnout of very desirable Ferraris. I'm here with Richard Allen and Richard Pryor of the Ferrari Owners Club. Richard, tell us a little bit about the history of this championship.
Yeah, well, we were coming here in the mid-80s, only just a handful of us, and I think at that point we thought we ought to develop a club championship, and we got it going in 1987. And it's been flourishing ever since, to the extent that this year we've been getting more than 20 cars at most of the meetings. And primarily it's for what are mostly very standard road cars. The older cars, they're allowed to uprate the suspension and those sort of things, but the 355s and 360s are really standard cars. They may have a full harness in, but that's how it works. And we run a handicapping system called a performance equaliser percentage, because obviously a 308 is not going to be able to keep up with a 355. Mm-hmm. So a 355, has plus 2.25% applied to its times.
So you do that on a percentage basis rather than seconds basis.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at the end, you'll be surprised it brings the times up very close, and that's how we award the championship points. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, the championship this year, or the last 2 or 3 years, is sponsored by Pirelli. Prior to that, we had Ferrari UK before they were taken over by the Italians, and Castrol, and then in the early days it was BF Goodrich.
So a solidly backed championship with a good bunch of competitors.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And what sort of number of rounds do you do in a season?
Well, this year it's 15, but it's 16 last year, so typically 15 to 16 rounds.
Predominantly hill climbs?
Predominantly hills. We do Mara Sprint and we go to Kerber a couple of times, yeah.
Very good, so a flourishing championship.
Yes.
And Richard Pryor here was champion last year, I believe. Richard, what car were you driving?
It's just a 348 TS, very standard, road spec and still on road tyres.
And how's your championship going this season?
Not so good this year. They've handicapped me with an extra 1% on my time for being the champion. But I'm still having a go and still trying to keep up with the top boys.
And the championship leader this year is?
At the moment it's John Goodwin and Chris Butler. They're both tied on 115 points, so there's nothing to separate them.
Well guys, it's great to see these cars out. I know spectators really enjoy the variety and the spectacle of a Ferrari, and have a good afternoon, and we'll be watching out for you. Thank you.
Tony. It's a pleasure to be at Gurston again.
Let's take a look at some of these fabulous Ferraris in action. Smoking the tyres away from the start, Andrew Holman really opens up the 348 TB before easing the big Ferrari into the fast left-hander at Hollow. Despite a touch with the Armco barrier at Doon up in Scotland a few weeks ago, Andrew's still hanging on to joint third place in the Pirelli Ferrari Championship. Bounding over the curb at the bottom of the carousel, the 348 clips the left-hand curb as Andrew manhandles the car through the steep uphill complex. Full power out of Ashes gets the tail out, but he's hard on the right-hand pedal for the long climb up and over Burke's Rise. The finish line's in sight, and 38.83 will take 5th place in this 15 car class. Here's Richard Allen now with his 355. A former Ferrari record holder at Gurston, Richard has just seen his old mark blitzed by David Tomlin, who set the fastest ever Ferrari time here on his first of today's 2 competition runs at 37.03. It looks quick through Hollow, and leaving his braking as late as possible for carousel, Allen almost locks up but throws the car over the rumble strip before hauling it up through the hill's tight intersection and up over Deer's Leap. Brushing the verge to get the widest possible entry line for the critical left-hander at Ashes, it's full bore up over the rise towards the finish. Allen's target is 37.03. And he's done it. 36.98 is another new record and Gurston's first ever sub 37 second climb by a Ferrari. So can David Tomlin get his record back from Allen? It's a good start from the man lying third equal in the championship alongside Andrew Holman. In fact, he looked as quick as Alan through hollow as once again the 355 just brushes the rumble strip. There's still nothing in it as Tomlin gets hard on the brakes and charges into the carousel complex. But the run looks maybe a shade tidier than Alan's, just that little bit smoother. The smooth runs are very often the fastest, and the Ferrari's certainly quick out of ashes, which could pay off on the run over the hill to the finish. It certainly does pay off. It's yet another Ferrari record, the third of the day, and by just 0.03 of a second. Now let's go back to Tony Wiltshire in the paddock.
As well as the cars we normally see running at Gurston, a couple of times a year the bikes come and visit. A combination of solo bikes and combinations. This particular BMW engined outfit was built by Harry Foster. He raced it with his wife Carol for many years, very successfully. Since then, last season, his nephews Mark and Simon took over the driving of the combo. Mark, you started riding this combo last season, new to the sport at that point. How's that learning curve been for you?
Steep to say the least, but we're having fun. Get to the top and smile. That's, as long as we can get to the top and still be smiling, we're happy.
As the guy with the control of the bike, I guess you are smiling. How about you, Simon? Hairy experience?
Absolutely, but laugh a minute. Absolute laugh a minute. It's been fantastic fun so far, and long may it continue.
I can imagine that. Carol, you used to sit in the chair and enjoy the ride with Harry. Are you missing that?
I miss it, but it's in safe hands.
I can sure. They've certainly gone through the learning curve very effectively, haven't they?
They do as they're told.
As always, I'm sure. Well, thank you very much, guys, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Together with his Joe Potts special Formula 3 car, the late Harry Foster rode his own self-built 1100cc BMW outfit at Hillclimbs across the country, always with his wife Carol alongside him in the chair. He'd be delighted that his nephews, Mark and Simon Foster, are now competing on the machine, and even more so as they're going so well. It's pretty energetic stuff, particularly for Simon in the hot seat as he leaps from side to side across the chair, but this is a good run for the family team, particularly as it's their first visit to Gurston. They're riding with the National Hillclimb Association motorcycle entrants who, although in the main seem to be based in the West Country, take part in hill climbs from Cornwall to Cumbria as part of their own well-supported NHCA championship. It's great to see the familiar Foster BMW in action again, and that's a good time for the brothers on their Gurston debut. Now for a rather different type of three-wheeled machine, the Suzuki Trike of John Warren with Guy Ursel on the seat at the back. As you can see, the bike is designed to be controlled by a rider with one arm, but this has never been a handicap for Warren, who regularly sets the pace in the two-wheel drive section of the NHCA's championship. Once again, Ursel is working really hard in the chair, but as he's able to get his weight right over equally on both sides, as well as over the driven axle, these amazing trikes are often quicker than the conventional outfits. Over Deer's Leap, Warren almost overcooks it as he winds on the power, but the bike comes back down to earth for a dive into ashes and up to the finish. The 1 litre Suzuki unit screams over the top of Berk's Rise, and it's a 37.62. The Keats brothers used to hill climb a Mallock with Suzuki power. Now the bike engine is propelling this more conventional motorcycle outfit, and it's one of the quickest on the hills. That's a good start from the brothers from Wellington. They already hold Gurston's one-wheel drive sidecar record, and with ideal conditions here today, they're clearly going for it again. Paul hangs out as they storm round hollow and hauls himself back over the rear wheel as they head for the carousel braking area. Once again, it's agile work from the passenger as the outfit negotiates the complex, but they're on track to beat their previous record. Just a left-hander at Ashes and the finish straight to go now, and Paddy opens the taps on the 1052 Suzuki unit as they head for the line. They've done it, it's another new record.
In the late 80s, Nick used to drive a Morris 1000 with a V8 turbocharged engine. The car was absolutely phenomenal and was a renowned bit of kit. Nick, you took some of the technology from that Morris Minor and built it into this car. Please explain what the link was into this.
Okay, well, the
The Morris used turbocharging to get the power. That's a cheap way of doing it, but it used nitrous oxide as a way of getting over the turbo lag. So by the end it was a nitrous engine with turbocharging, and then they banned nitrous oxide, so I needed another way of getting over turbo lag, and by firing the turbocharger, by spinning it up with extra fuel, basically that was the idea. And I tested that idea briefly on the Morris at the end of its career. Made a lot of popping and banging noises, which no one understood at the time, but that set the ground for this car.
Explain a bit of the technology in this car then, Nick, because basically we've got a steel chassis here, four-wheel drive, but then with a very, very intriguing power plant. Take us through what we've got here, please.
Okay. Key part of it is the engine, the lag reduction. So basically what we have here is actually a little gas turbine. It's made out of a big turbocharger, out of a truck, great big turbocharger, and it flows more air than the engine can use, but it's kept spinning all the time by its own fuel supply, which goes in here. So basically what you have is an engine where the boost is present all the time. So a tick over, you can have 30 pounds of boost, and it just stays steady across the speed.
So absolutely no turbo lag at all there. The charge is there all the time.
Zero lag, and that means you can build an engine with a very wide torque curve. So this engine actually here at Gurston, coming out of carousel, I come out at 2,400 RPM, and I've got more power than I can use, and it goes up to 9.
That's phenomenal. And the base engine that you've got in here?
It's a BDT, originally 1.8. This one was blown up and has been rescued with the help of John Beattie, who builds the engine for me. So this is 1.7 litre and lots of boost.
Absolutely, yeah. So what sort of power output are you getting from that?
About 500 at the moment. That's at about 30 pounds boost, but the gas turbine is capable of about 45 psi. We haven't got there yet.
A real pressure cooker, I think. Phenomenal power, Nick. And you've got TTL sponsorship here. That links into the gas turbine that you've got, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, TTL are a little company in the West Country that make the gas turbines for starting helicopters and smoke generators, and they've helped me all the way through with this right from day one. So this is hardware, sort of ex-development hardware of theirs. I couldn't afford it otherwise, so that's the heart of it.
I can imagine, yeah. And it's great to see you put it into good use.
Yeah, it's fun.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much, Nick, and have a good day.
Thank you.
So as Nick Mann comes to the line with the four-wheel drive Manic BT, prepare to witness one of the most electrifying getaways in the whole of hill climbing. It's by far the quickest launch of the day, and the Berkshire engineer's revolutionary machine rockets into hollow. At 28.42 seconds, Nick already holds the Sports Libre record here at Gurston, and this run looks set to match that. It's only his second outing with the car this year after its winter development programme, and first time out at Shelsley Walsh, he set his first ever FTD. But can Mann break his own record? 28.42 to beat. And it's 28.44, just 200ths away. But it's a tremendous run, and one that won't be beaten today. After 30 years of trying, Nick Mann has finally achieved his ambition of FTD on his local hill. Later in the programme we'll be seeing some more unusual machines and talking to some pretty unusual drivers here in the heart of rural Wiltshire. Join us after the break for more hill climb action.